All right, August reading wrap up, because by God, I had the best month in years. Because A, read so many books, and B, read so many 5 stars, namely Dungeon Crawler Carl. Are you kidding me? I'm obsessed. I'm in love. So I read the first book a couple months back, waited to read the second, I had other things going on. Flew through this. Picked up the audiobook when I was about halfway through because I did want to compare the audiobook to the physical, but because I started at physical, I am enjoying the physical more than the audio for the series. However, I finished the second one and then I needed to start the third, but I didn't physically have the third and my bookstore didn't have the third, so I had to buy the audiobook for that one. So this one I read basically all on the audio before my physical even came. And then I did both for this one because, again, I was in a position where it'd be easier to listen to the audio, and then I had this, and I'm just gonna go back and forth between the two. I'm in love. This series is my new favorite thing. So book 3, the Dungeon Crawler's cookbook, Anarchist cookbook, is my favorite of the series so far. I'm gonna put these down so they're not making noise. What do I even say about Dungeon Crawler Carl? Spoiler free first, because I'm going to have a video of just full spoiler thoughts. It's amazing, it's funny, it's hilarious. I don't understand any criticisms for this series because I love everything about it. It is my second favorite series right after the Dresden Files, and if this introduces a mafia, kind of has elements of it. If it's a full-on mafia to it, then this might end up being my new favorite. That's all I'm saying. Okay, so I love Carl. I love how we are developing his friendships, the world. So book 2 is very much him still being the underdog, but as we go forward past there, he is more of a presence. It's less like we're rooting for the underdog. I thought that would be taking away from elements of the story, but as we build on the lore of the world, of the dungeon, of the universe, setting up plot points that we know are going to pay off in future floors, and we're like, oh, I can see how that's going to come back to bite us later on. I like the setup, especially in book 2. Book 3, we focus more on individual characters outside of Carl and Donut, people we love, alliances that are happening, but also in and out of the game, and just the broader aspects of Carl's inner circle and as he expands it. And then in book 4, we are expanding that circle further to other characters who we might not actually like from the start, and we're back in that like underdog point as more things go wrong and Carl starts to fight back in his own way as he can, one step at a time, against this intergalactic system that has exterminated all of Earth, put him in this dungeon, in this crazy situation, forced him into these morally horrible situations, and he is ready to try his best and fight back, again, one step at a time, and I'm all for it. Dungeon Crawler Carl is hilarious. It is cosmic satire, horror, absurdism, pure entertainment, but at the heart and soul of it, still commentating on exploitation, and I love it. Also, all hail Princess Donut and her royal steed, Mongo, because I love them. I love them so much. I read Julie Chan is Dead for the Literally Dead book club, and I'm happy I read it. I would have preferred a different option when we got to pick with the... This was not my pick. This was my last place pick. I'm not the biggest fan of social media in book form kind of thing. So there are twins. One twin has died, and she was a social media influencer, and her twin sister has taken her identity and her life and yada yada. They grew up completely separate, adopted kind of thing. And I didn't think I'd like this, and I was right. This was a 2-star for me. I really enjoyed the beginning of it. Julie, the twin that we're following, is an utter mess, and I love it because the beginning is just her making terrible decision after terrible decision in the wake of her sister's passing. How she managed to get by for as long as she did, I do not know, but it was entertaining as hell. I liked how social influence media stuff was used. It was fine. It was fine. And if it had just gone that way, I think I would have enjoyed it more. But at one point, I can only suspend my disbelief so far. And I wish we just went... Not spoilers. Spoilers. I won't give plot detail spoilers, but heavy in the themes, too close for spoilers for non-spoiler view. So jump ahead to the next chapter if you need to. But essentially, we end up on an island, and the entire book she's like, hey, this super secret trip that you have, me, and she's pretending to be her sister. What was her sister's name? Chloe. Yeah, Chloe, her sister, had like fired people or yelled at people whenever they asked about this blank spot on her calendar. So like when she goes to her assistants, just like, yeah, what we got planned here? It's like, what are you talking about? We don't talk about this week. I don't know what it is. You don't talk to me about it. Oh, right. And then she's talking loudly in public parties. Yeah, so that party we're going to, that retreat we're going to, how's that go? How, what, why? Not smart. Okay, so we end up at this retreat, and again, not plot heavy spoilers, but we go from culty to mind warpy, hive mind, insanity, drug induced craziness. Remind me a little too much like Bunny, that for my personal taste. And if it had just been a straightforward cult with a charismatic leader, then sure, that would have been fine. It was the hive-mindy element of characters that didn't work for me. Again, I can only suspend my disbelief so much, and that island crossed the line. It was probably a 4-star before the island, and then we got to the island, and I'm like, 1 star. And now we balanced it out, so I gave it a 2. I already did my Stephen King wrap-up, so I'll be quick with this, but Roadwork was probably one of my favorites. I love the Bachman books. There's no need for any supernatural craziness. It's just a beautiful character study, and Roadwork is Stephen King examining some old man that's house is about to be destroyed because government progression of a highway turn that did not need to happen anyway, and him spiraling into madness, and his life falling apart because of it, and then he takes it very, very far. And it was just good. There's no real plot. It was just a character study, character work of this one guy, and I enjoyed it. We explore his grief, his son's passing, the home that he built with his wife where he raised his child, his community, his work, the people who ran the small business before it was taken up by a large corporation, and now to see it fall, and how he's buying for time, and how does he want to respond, and again, his psyche just spiraling and breaking. It's a good time. Cujo, again, phenomenal. I don't know what to say about Cujo that I didn't already say in my Stephen King wrap-up, and it's the dog. Cujo's not his fault. Good boy, sweet boy. But I love the fact that so many little things had to go wrong to trap these characters in this car and be unable to escape, and the risks that they were taking, the decisions characters made, however small and trivial that they thought it was at the time, had such terrible, drastic outcomes, and I loved it for that. The atmosphere was great. The beginning sucked, but once you started the actual story, I really, really, really enjoyed this one. So happy I read Cujo. Listen, I had to meet a Goodreads challenge thing, and I wanted to try to keep getting in nonfiction and memoir. So I read Britney Spears' memoir, what was it, The Woman in Me. It was fine. It was very straightforward, factual. I got more information out of YouTube videos when everything was happening. Follows her life from childhood to adulthood, the conservatorship, but it didn't give any detail or emotional depth that I would expect or want from a memoir. We were definitely kept at a very far distance from how she felt. She'd say, like, oh, I felt this way, but it really didn't feel like we were being let into her actual feelings and details of what was happening, nor would I would expect to her to give any more information than she wanted to give. By all means, I'm not asking for anything. This is unrated. This is her life, her story. I don't want anything else from her other than what she can give. Leave this woman alone. She deserves peace, rest, and oh, I don't like every single person who had harmed this woman. So, not my personal favorite memoir. Writing was a little dry, but I'm not asking for anything else. All right, Coyote songs. I was a little bit disappointed in this one because I've heard such things good things about Gabino Iglesias, and I don't think this was right one for me to start because I don't like short stories very often anyway. I never feel like I'm given enough time with the characters for me to get attached to them. So this is several little stories, different characters whose stories eventually intertwine in terms of themes, not right directly crossing each other. So like you have maybe just jump down. You have a character who is working on getting like kids across the border and how he has to go about that. You got someone who's out for revenge, someone who's hunting bad people. You have someone in school who's dealing with different prejudices. And I love themes of violence and intergenerational trauma and the cycle of violence as a whole and the different cultures. The writing was beautiful. The imagery very powerful. We'll go with that. I normally have a preference for just straightforward, I would call it like Brandon Sanderson style series, nothing flowery about the writing. This was definitely more purposeful in its writing choices, but definitely not purple prose or anything like that. It was just beautifully written. But I'm more narrative and character and story focus over themes, but I still want good themes. I'm picky. I'm just picky when it comes to writing. Short stories, not for me. So again, I didn't feel like I got connected to any of these characters, but I can recognize that it was well written, well executed, and again, I like the themes. Specifically responses to trauma and interpersonal individuals' response and resistance to adversity, that kind of thing. Very well done. Samantha Downing, instant buy author for me. I think I've read almost everything she's written. I gotta finish like one more of her books. Too old for this. Serial killer who she's retired. She's like, what, 70, almost 80? And she never got caught. She had been the #1 suspect by the police at the time, but they could never prove it was her. So someone comes to her and is just like, hey, I'm interested in doing a documentary kind of series on people who were wrongly convicted or accused and how that impacted their life kind of thing. And she's just like, listen, I'm just going to leave well enough in the past. She's a full-on serial killer, and she wants to keep everything hidden. She doesn't want to drag up the past, but this reporter is making her drag up the past. And then, in traditional Samantha Downing style, a terrible decision leads to a different terrible decision to cover up the first terrible decision, and then another one to cover up that, and it snowballs so quick, and I love it. Every Samantha Downing book that I've ever read has been an utter car crash, train crash, whatever you want to call it, that you just cannot look away from, and it's such an addicting ride, and I love it, and this one is, no, the school one's still my favorite. This is like my second favorite by her. I'm so happy. I also really, really appreciate that we did not make this serial killer old lady, likable's the wrong word. She's sweet. She's darkly humorous. She is entertaining to follow. She's a good grandmother. She's a good mother. Like, she's a good person in her church group. But the serial aspect side of her is not excused. It's not like, oh, I only went after bad people, or I only went after people who really wronged me. No. She was just a serial killer. And that is never excused. It's just a part of who she is. And it just made it a lot more entertaining, because I wasn't looking for a sympathetic serial killer here. So I had a wonderful time. Recommend this one. Highly recommend this one. All right, I was surprised with Tantrum. I picked this up because the cover looked cool. It was available. I had like a half hour to spare, so I started it, and then I'm like, okay, screw other plans. I'm just gonna read this. So we start off in a traditional evil child kind of situation. We have a baby that is the devil. Evil, possessed, something pure on terror in a bassinet. 100%. Evil child. And then we go from there, and I was not expecting the turn we took. Was it good? I don't know. Definitely didn't like the magical realism speculative element in the middle. Did not like that at all. But the ending with, again, familial trauma, cycles of violence and hatred and self-reflection and different generations responding in certain ways to different situations and how it's passed down through families. My bread and butter, what I love more than anything. Was it a little too on the nose with its themes? Probably. Was the writing that good? Yeah. Was female rage and self-doubt and hatred and the idea of being a parent and just failing at it hammered in a little too heavily? Yeah. But I had fun, okay? It was just fun. Listen, it's going to be very hard for me to give a bad review to a book that involves breaking the cycle of hatred and violence, okay? It's just the theme I love. Again, writing style was purposeful, not quite purple prose, but definitely more lyrical and purposeful than I typically tend to enjoy. Next, we had Listen for the Lie, and this one, I'm happy because this had such high reviews. Everyone on my Goodreads account and reviews I seen when it first came out loved this book, and I typically do tend to like elements with podcasts in it, so I went in hopeful, but the beginning was not starting out great. Essentially, a character was found murdered, another character has amnesia, can't remember what happened. She was the prime suspect, and a podcast is trying to get to the truth for it, as everyone already, in terms of public opinion, convicted this lady, even though she was never convicted by law. And the podcast is trying to get to the truth. And I did not like the beginning because she was always constantly thinking about, oh, I could kill somebody this way. And it's given a reason, and it works out well that I actually tend to like the reason by the end of the book, but in the beginning I did not like the reason, and that was taking me out of it. So we were off to a rocky start, and yes, we did this small town vibe place, so way too much sex and affairs that I felt was strictly necessary, and I did figure out who the killer was for a meta reason extremely early on, but that's not to any fault to the book, because this ended up being 5 stars. By God, again, rocky start for the beginning, but I loved it by the end. The grandma and the best friend specifically, I love them with all my heart and soul. Phenomenal characters. Podcast guy was a good amount of just a narcissistic ass a little bit, just a little full of himself, a little cocky, but getting to the point and uncovering the truth and relishing in people's lives, lies falling apart on his podcast. So fine. The main character was serviceable. But what I loved specifically was the idea of what makes a good victim. That is, if anything, a little heavy-handed, but drilled into this story, and I thought it was accomplished beautifully. What makes a good victim? How is she believable? What was she doing? How do people view her? Never just like, hey, she was a victim, who cares about these other things around it, but why people think that they are believable, that they are worthy of care and comfort and not accusation as well. The way that women will adjust their behavior around certain men around them for their own safety. The way rumors spread in small towns. The duality of certain characters. They're neither pure good, pure bad. There's one character who, in a different book that I read, would have just been a full-on terrible human being, assault us with no personality beyond what a jerk they are. But that isn't how they were presented in this book, because that there are more complexities to characters. Yeah, they can be a horrible person, but that doesn't mean that there aren't good elements to them. And the good definitely doesn't override the bad, and the bad definitely can override the good. But I thought it was wonderfully well done. I really enjoyed this one. 5 stars. The last one I read was the Iliad, and fun fact, this penguin cloth bound copy, I have a couple of these. Most of them, the stuff like rubs off on your fingers when you're reading it. Like my Frankenstein edition, I don't even want to touch, because as I was reading it, like I started to rub off the pretty design. These ones, no, we're good. I can rub this and nothing is coming off on my hands. This is whatever their change. 10 out of 10. Very happy. I can now read and touch the book. The Iliad. I had a fun time. Did I read this because people were talking about Helena Troy in my last One Piece video? Yes, I did. But I have been planning to read that anyway. Now, the Iliad is basically just a compilation of the, what was it, 9 years near the end of the Trojan War, and Helen of Troy and everything there. Was she a good character? No, she stands on a wall and calls herself a slut while naming out different elements of the army. So for the people who told me that I had an issue with a character being treated like a damsel in distress sex object because it happens in other literature like the Iliad, yeah, and Helena Troy, I take issues with how her character was there as well, except that was written I don't know, how long ago was the Iliad written? Alright, but give or take the 17th century. So excuse me for expecting characters in modern day to be better written than a female character written in the 17th century, and that was when it was recorded. It was oral before that. Anyhow, irrelevant. So the kind of main focus is with Achilles and the Battle of Troy, and you have Agamemnon. Agamemnon? I've only ever said this name in my head. I've never said it out loud before. I don't like it. Anywho, I hate him, that Agamemnon guy. He did not get stabbed enough in this book. I need him to get stabbed more. I enjoyed the Iliad. It is full of petty, spiteful characters insulting each other while at a war, and they stop the war at one point to play some games and do funeral rites and have banquets, or one time to draw straws, because it's just like, hold on, let's just stop the fighting, we gotta do this thing first. And listen, it's Achilles dealing with his utter hatred and rage and coming to terms with the hatred and rage, and everyone dealing with him as being a problem and him being petty. Rightfully so in one aspect, but also you got mad that your war prize slave girl was taken away from you and what that did to you, and not the fact that a woman was given to you as a prize, and then you're upset for your own sake because it's an insult to you that she was taken away from you. No one cares about her. Not a fan. So do I really like Achilles? Well, I like him more than Agamemnon. I don't like his name. Yeah, I need him to die. He did not get stabbed enough. He really, 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 really did not get stabbed enough. Aphrodite, being a menace and causing this entire thing. Love her. She's a mess. It's wonderful. It's entertaining as hell. It's not good. Zeus is terrible, as always. Who is it? Ares. There we go. He gets called down to the dirt by Zeus, and Zeus says how much he hates him. It's a wonderful time. It's a wonderful time. This copy specifically was translated in a way that made it very approachable and readable. There is no way in hell this is anywhere close to a direct translation, like to uphold authenticity to the original writing of the story. This is modernized, and I appreciate it. I think my only genuine criticisms in terms of entertainment as a modern reader is going to be the fact that character A told character B a set of instructions, which he would then pass to character C. So character B goes to character C, repeats exactly word for word what character A said, and then sometimes character C will repeat that again to character D. Like, it's very, very, very repetitive. And if these conversations had happened like further apart from each other, I'd lean towards it's just, well, this story used to be told verbally, and no one's going to read this entire story in one sitting, so maybe they need like a recap or something like that. But like, they were a couple pages apart. And also, if I never read the words with winged words again, it will be too soon. That was just way too much. But I did like it. I will read, was it the Odyssey next? So I need to get that one. But I need to continue with Dungeon Crawler Carl, because this is my new obsession. I am officially putting Stormlight Archive on hold temporarily, just because I have accepted that I'm in a temporary reading slump for epic fiction, fantasy, whatever. Yeah, I can't, my brain don't want epic fantasy right now. And I want to... Dresden Files is out of frame. I really want to reread the Dresden Files before the new book comes out. So I'm going to split my focus back to being just the Dresden Files, Dungeon Crawler Carl, and we'll go from there. And apparently the Odyssey. So that is what I got. I will talk to you later. Oh, anime. I did not read much manga. Apparently I focus mostly on books this month. Chainsaw Man. I caught up with Chainsaw Man. I'm having a glorious time. Denji is wonderful. I'm going to restart part 2 and do a reread of that because I want an Asa tattoo and I want to reread Chainsaw Man part 2 before I get that. I watched the movie I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, mostly from the title, just for that recommendation alone, but also because I was told it would be very, very sad. This is a girl with what I assume is pancreatic cancer. Her pancreas is bad, and she makes a friend, and she's just kind of hitting off things off her bucket list, and don't want to go into spoilers. But I did call the ending coming extremely early on, but it was still really good. She was definitely more manic pixie dream girl than I would ever want, so to say I enjoyed the movie, not going to do it. I don't like the manic pixie dreams girl kind of character trope. However, that does not mean I didn't cry by the end. But that's mostly because I'm a crybaby, okay? I cry at just about everything. It's not hard to make me cry. That's not a compliment for this movie. But it was good. I liked elements of it. I liked a lot of elements to it. And I have started 91 days. I think I'm on episode like 3 or 4. And yes, I did have to buy the physical Blu-ray and then buy a Blu-ray player to watch this. I'm not happy about that. Why did it have to get taken off Crunchyroll? Anyhow, that is all I got. I will talk to you later. Bye.